Hi, good evening, everybody. Before we start the meeting, just to remind everybody, or just to let everybody know who doesn't know, that this meeting is going to be webcast, and that is following the decision that was taken at the last council meeting. So apparently, anybody sat around the table will be in view of the webcast. The meeting will be webcast on the council's own YouTube channel, for anybody who wants to watch it later. And just to remind everybody, if you are speaking, please can you use the microphone? It's really important that you use the microphone, otherwise your contribution won't be picked up by the webcast. And just again, before we start, just to let everybody know that we haven't received any notification from any members of the public that they want to, excuse me, that they want to ask any questions. So there won't be any questions from members of the public. So thank you for that. Okay, so item 1 on the agenda is attendances, and just to let you know that we've received apologies from Councillor Weston and Councillor Wright. Are there any other apologies at all? Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so item 2 on the agenda actually is questions from members of the public, but as I've just said, we haven't received any questions from members of the public. Item 3 is declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest at all? No, thank you. Item 4 is to note the minutes, to note and agree the minutes of the last executive meeting held on the 28th of November. Are those minutes agreed?
I'll move the minutes, Chair.
Oh, thank you. And are they agreed?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Do we have any matters arising from any of the scrutiny committees?
Thank you, Chair. Just very briefly, just to let executive members know that we had 2 budget scrutiny sessions, which many of the executive members and officers actually attended, and I'm very grateful for your contributions and cooperation. I think it helped enormously to ensure that we were able to scrutinise the budget, and we are now in the process of drafting a report that will go to the eventually go to the executive. So thank you very much.
Sorry. So item 6 on the agenda is to consider a report from the Executive Member for Children's Services and the Executive Member for Investment, Regeneration and Strategic Planning. This is a report into the proposed use of the former Brentwood School site, and this will be moved by Councillor Jane Bohr. Thank you.
Microphone, yes. Thank you for reminding me. What is important is that our young people have a really good learning environment, an environment that is healthy and will develop their well-being. And we know that these 2 schools, Trafford High and the Trafford Education Medical Centre, are not up to standard. And this request came from the educational officers themselves. They felt very strongly that this was an opportunity for these 2 schools to be moved on to the Brentwood site. Before I move into, I will just pick out certain sections of the report. But before I do that, I do just want to say, under recommendations, that we are not going to recommend this until we have gone out to consultation and we've had feedback from consultation, because we think that is very important. So that's just what I've added to the recommendation there. And I will go through the consultations further in the report. So I'll just go through this briefly because I know you've all had chance to read it. Can you hear me okay? Under 2, the feasibility study. A feasibility study has been undertaken. Trafford High School has 60 pupils. Trafford Medical Education Service caters for 30. The former Brentwood School did cater for 100 pupils. So we know that there is room for both schools on this site. And that they can easily share this school. The executive head and the school staff from Trafford High School and Trafford Medical Education have been instrumental in developing these proposals for how the schools can be reconfigured. Also, I think it's important to say, and I have visited these sites, the Trafford Medical Education Service was originally a youth club. The space upstairs does not have disabled access and therefore has limited usage. There are no science labs or suitable areas for pupils to eat, and the room used for assessment doesn't even have a window. And the outdoor area is unsuitable for PE activities. Trafford High School was a former primary school, and the pupils at the school are secondary age pupils. The whole space cannot be used properly as a gym. The outside area is in poor condition. The canteen area is too small. Food technology lessons have to take place in the canteen, so none of this is ideal. And there are no science facilities, so they actually have to go to Wellacre Academy to carry out experiments. Sorry, it's difficult to turn over with one hand. So the Brentwood site is a purpose-built school, and the site will provide an improved learning experience and environment. It already has designated ICT, science, art, food technology, and design and technology rooms, and pupils will not then have to travel off-site. There is a separate gym and dining area. The sixth form block is ideal for Trafford Medical Education Service, as it has large classrooms, a therapeutic room, and a dining area. And the classrooms already have dedicated quiet zones, making them good for pupils with anxiety and mental ill health. And there is an ASD block, which could accommodate pupils undergoing assessments. There is a large sport hall at Brentwood site. That will require some refurbishment and a new floor covering to make it suitable for wheelchair users. Many of the pupils at the former site were wheelchair users. Currently, pupils at the school have to go off-site to Flixton, George Carnell and JJB to use the sports facilities. So they will be spending less time travelling and being able to timetable longer sports activities, which will definitely benefit their physical and mental well-being. The playing areas at the Brentwood site are already separated and doors open out to the play area, thus providing space for pupils experience bouts of anxiety with the capacity to be supervised without being invasive. There is football and basketball facilities in the park next door, which will allow opportunities close by for pupils to experience different sports. On 3.9, the travel plan, I think we are looking into, and we want to make sure that there's safe and healthy access for our children from 2 tram stops, Navigation Road and Timperley, and also from the bus stops. So there are other advantages in relocating the 2 schools, because the teaching and support staff will be better able to plan lessons and activities together. And for those staff who work in both schools, there will be no time lost travelling between sites. The site gives potential to create further places and offer improved provision, which in turn could reduce the need for out-of-borough places. And this is very important because we are trying to bring our children back into Trafford. Our children should be in Trafford, in their own community. There would be minimal adaptations required, and larger works are going to be required also, as the building fabric has been vacant and has suffered from damage in previous years. So we will be putting funding into improving the building where it is needed. Basically, that's the reasons why our staff want to propose this. And as I've said before, we are going out to consultation. we will be consulting with the school governors, the parents of the pupils, the staff and the unions, and the residents, obviously, who back onto the school. So I do hope that you will support this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bohr, and well done for navigating your way around that report with one arm. So there is an item 2 to this report, which will be considered in the closed section of the meeting. But can I just ask, have any members of the executive got any comments or questions, please? And any questions more broadly? Councillor Wetton.
Not questions, actually, just a couple of comments, if I may. Certainly fully agree with the ideas behind all of this and the thrust of the report. I think it's a very sensible move indeed. It makes better use of the resources that are available, and it's important that the pupils involved do get the best learning experience possible, and if you've got better environment to locate them in, then that should be happening. It's certainly a better use of if you only need to look at the buildings to see that it makes sense, and particularly the Flixton Road site is not fit for purpose. It's been in many guises over the years, and to discontinue using it for those purposes does make sense. Just one of my points is that the Lydney Road site, that which is a purpose-built school, I would just urge caution there that that we're absolutely certain that there isn't going to be a need for another school in that area in the next few years. I really wouldn't like to see that the council shoot itself in the foot and by disposing of that site and finding before very long that a school is needed in the area. Ironically, if the site were to be disposed for housing, it may well in a few years actually generate more need for a school in that area. So I just would urge that the forecasts are double checked and perhaps go a little bit further as best can be done into the future to check that we do feel confident of that forecast. And a lesser point, but one I think is worth making, that reference in the report is made to transport being easier to the Brentwood site for the pupils concerned. But I think most of us around this table will know that it's very close to Park Road, and Park Road is one of those perennial problems in terms of transport, particularly peak time transport. That it does tail back quite a long way, and that will need to be factored into the transport arrangements, and perhaps factored into the consultation as well. Full consultation makes sense. All of those parties you're talking about will have useful input, I would think, to make about this suggestion. But from with those comments, I would certainly just repeat that I think it does make a lot of sense, bringing a better building back into use for a good purpose. So I welcome it.
Thank you very much for your comments. You're absolutely right. The numbers are increasing dramatically in this borough as people are coming into the borough because of the schools, and we can certainly check that with Marilyn Golding regarding admissions. I'm not aware at the moment that there is a need for another school in the area, and obviously she will have a forecast. But we have got plans for extending some schools, I have to say. In relation to Park Road. Yes, I used to sit in that traffic when I lived in Timperley every day. And you're right, we will obviously take that up as well and look into that. So it's used to be worse between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning and 4 and 5 o'clock at night. So hopefully we will miss that, but we'll certainly check up on that. And thank you very much for your comments. They're appreciated.
Yes, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Thank you. Notwithstanding Councillor Ball's comments regarding the fact that this is subject to consultation, are the recommendations approved?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, which is to receive an update on the community services model, and that is from the Executive Member for Health and Wellbeing, Councillor Lloyd, please.
As you know, Pan Am Care have withdrawn all their community services across their footprint. We were one of the first that went. And at the moment, we're in the process of procurement. We're looking for a preferred provider. The services continue to be delivered across Trafford. We're hoping for a seamless service when the new provider is appointed. It works well at the moment that we will still continue to have an integrated service, but we'll also be concentrating on the 4 neighbourhood that we have.
Thank you. Any questions from the Executive? And more broadly? No. Thank you. So I haven't received any items of urgent business. So at this stage, I move the exclusion resolution for any members of the public. And also at this stage, I request that the webcast be switched off.